morning. Let's start the daily discussion on current affairs. The first topic is the Supreme Court uphold Tamil Nadu law allowing Jallikattu. Okay. The Supreme Court of India has given an order banning Jallikattu. Okay. Earlier, for which the state government has okay. So, a 5-judge constitutional bench, the Supreme Court has upheld the amendment made by the Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, and Karnataka to the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act. Okay. So, allowing Jallikattu, Kambala, and Bullock Cart race in the respective states. So, Jallikattu in Tamil Nadu, Kambala in Maharashtra, and Bullock Cart race in Karnataka. The court overturned the verdict of the 2-judge bench in Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagarajan 2014, which has banned practices such as Jallikattu, the traditional bull taming sport of the Pongal harvest festival. The 5-judge bench noted that Jallikattu So the 5-judge bench noted that Jallikattu has been held in Tamil Nadu for at least a century and will not disrupt the view of the legislature that it is part of the cultural heritage of the state. So Jallikattu is considered as a part of the cultural heritage of the state. So because it is part of the cultural heritage of the state, so keeping that point in view, the Supreme Court has told that we cannot we must uphold the state legislation in promoting the cultural heritage of the respective state concerned. Fine. So the 5-judge bench noted in 2014 Nagaraja judgment and the SC bench of Justice S.K. Radhakrishnan and Pinaki Chandra Ghosh has ruled that the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act 1960 overshadow or overrides the so-called tradition and culture. Okay. So that is the judgment given in the Nagarajan judgment, okay, in 2014. But it has been after that the state government passed a law and the present Supreme Court has upheld the law passed by the state government. In its judgment, the top court held that Tamil Nadu Amendment Act is not a piece of colorable legislation and that it relates to entry 17 of list 3 of the 7th schedule of the Constitution, which relates to the prevention of cruelty to animals, adding that the 2017 amendment minimizes cruelty to animals in the concerned sports. The court held that once it is implemented and read with the rules, the sports will not come under the definition of cruelty defined in the 1960 Act. The court held the amendment having received presidential assent, we do not think there is a flaw in this. Okay, in the state action, Jallikattu as bovine sports have to be isolated from the manner in which they were earlier practiced, and organizing the sports itself could be permissible in terms of the Tamil Nadu rules. So Tamil Nadu has passed the legislation with restriction the sports will be conducted in the state. Okay, highlighting that Jallikattu the court held amendment having received presidential assent, would not think there is a flaw in the state action, highlighting that Jallikattu has been going on in Tamil Nadu for the last few centuries and forms a part of its cultural heritage as found by the legislative exercise conducted by the legislature. The court clarified that Okay, so highlighting that Jallikattu has been going on in Tamil Nadu for the last few centuries and form a part of. Okay. Okay. Highlight the Jallikattu has been going on in Tamil Nadu for the last few centuries and forms a part of its cultural heritage. Fine. The court also said that the 2017 amendment does not violate Article 51A(g) and 51A(h), which impose duty on Indian citizen to protect the environment and develop a scientific temperament, humanism, spirit of inquiry, okay, and reform, respectively. Further, it also held that the amendment did not violate Article 14, right to equality, and 21, right to life of the Constitution. How did the case reach Supreme Court and who filed it? Okay. This case, the Supreme Court overruled the 2014 ruling where a two-judge bench had essentially outlawed two common sports practices in the state of Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, popularly referred as Jallikattu and Bullock cart race, respectively. The Estrohel ruling has also held that bovine sports, oh yeah, contrary to the provision of section 3, 11(1)(a) and M of the Prevention of Cruelty. Okay. So in January 7, 2016, the notification issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change prohibiting the exhibiting or training of bulls as performing animals. Okay. So however, an exception was carved in the notification which specified that bull might still be trained as performing animals at events such as Jallikattu in Tamil Nadu according to the custom and culture of different communities. Okay. it was specified that this exception is subject to conditions such as reducing the pain and suffering of bull utilized in such sports. However, 2 years later, a batch of petitioners were filed challenging the exemption notification, relying on the 2014 rulings that the present batch of plea was filed before the top court. While the first of the plea was filed by the Animal Welfare Board of India, in the course of the hearing, the board changed its stance to support the stand of the state and center on ground that the 1960 Act and the State Amendment Act in 2017 were not contrary to each other. The board also said that if framed guidelines preventing the suffering of bovine species during such events, then such sports should be allowed to be practiced in the state. Okay. Okay, so this came after the Animal Welfare Board of India, which is a statutory body under the center, has animal rights group like the People for Ethical Treatment to Animal. Supreme Court 2014 verdict. This was the Welfare Board of India versus A. Nagarajan case. An SC bench, Justice K. Radhakishan and Justice Pinaki Chandra Ghosh ruled that the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act 1960 overshadow or overrides the so-called tradition and culture and advised Parliament to elevate right of animals to that of constitutional rights so as to protect their dignity and honor. Judgment banned the practice of Jallikattu and said bull are beaten, poked, prodded, harassed and jumped on by numerous people. They have their tail beaten and twisted and their eyes and nose filled with irritating chemicals. This came after the Animal Welfare Board of India, which is a statutory body under the center, and animal rights group like the People for Ethical Treatment to Animal, PETA, provided documentary evidence to the court suggesting that Jallikattu animals were physically and mentally tortured. Under what circumstances did Tamil Nadu pass its law? In 2017, Tamil Nadu amended the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act to allow Jallikattu in the state. The amending act sought to preserve the cultural heritage of Tamil Nadu and to ensure that survival and well-being of the native breeds of bulls. This came after the top court had in its 2014 judgment said bulls cannot be used as performing animals either for Jallikattu events or bullock cart race and banned their use for these purposes across the country. While the initial petition filed in the case of Animal Welfare Board of India versus Union of India has sought a direction to the state to comply with the 2014 Supreme Court ruling in Welfare Board of India versus Nagaraja, the passage of the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Tamil Nadu Amendment Act 2017 led to a scenario where the petitioner had to be notified to include the quashing of the 2017 Act among its prayers. Following this, an SC bench comprising the then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra and Justice Rohington Nariman opined that Jallikattu issue involved substantial questions of interpretation of the Constitution and refer the matter to the Constitution of India, to a Constitution bench. Okay, the bench was tasked with deciding whether
Delhi sir. 96924 5624 सर मेसेज कर देबे अपन व्हाट्सएप आगे भवानी सर किछ मटेरियल नोट रेडी करछन देखि किछ रिलेटेड रिलेटेड मटेरियल रेडी हो ठीक है
नेक्स्ट वीक हो जाए दिस के बाद डेट
27 से अछि
दे बस नेक्स्ट sometimes you are tasked with deciding whether Tamil Nadu could preserve Jallikattu. Okay. What did the other state do? Following in the footsteps of Tamil Nadu, the Karnataka cabinet in July 2017 decided to amend the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act 1960 to pave the way for Kambala sports in Karnataka. Sports involving a pair of buffaloes tied to the plow and anchored by one person. The buffalo are made to run in parallel muddy tracks in competition in which the fastest team wins. Okay. Acting on a PIL filed by the PETA, the Karnataka High Court has passed an interim order banning all Kambala races until the Supreme Court has decided the matter. Then in July 2017, Maharashtra passed an amendment to the PCA Act 1960 allowing bullock cart race involving bulls to conduct a race, whether tied to cart with the help of wooden yoke or not, by whomsoever name called, with or without a cartman, with a view to follow tradition and culture on such day. However, in the same year, the Bombay High Court passed an interim order restricting the Maharashtra government from giving permission to bullock cart races. Okay, there are all tradition being involved in this, but the cruelty to animal is being opposed at present by the so-called animal rights activists, especially the PETA, People to Ethical Treatment to Animal group. Okay. Okay, so so Jallikattu, also known as Eruthaja Hudhala, is a bull taming sports traditionally played in Tamil Nadu and part of the Pongal Harvest Festival. The festival is a celebration of nature and the thanksgiving for the bountiful harvest, of which cattle or sheep is part. However, the practice of Jallikattu has long been contested with animal-led group and the court expressing concern over cruelty to animals and the bloody and dangerous nature of the sports that sometimes cause death and injury to both the bull and human participants. Pongal and the culture of Jallikattu. Pongal in Tamil Nadu is a celebration of nature and is thanksgiving for a bountiful harvest. Similar harvest festival of Makar Sankranti, Maghi and Magho Bihu are observed in other parts of the country at the same time in mid-January. In Tamil Nadu, the festival lasts for 3 to 4 days and on the third day, Mattu Pongal, okay, cattle are worshipped. The bull taming event then starts, especially in the southern district of the state, when the elite Jallikattu breed test the strength and skill of farm hands in especially constructed arena. contest in Abhanipuram, Pelamadu and Alangagurar villages neighboring Madurai set the tone for the season, which continue up until April. Okay, so there are two sides. One side is the protection of the culture, and second is the cruelty to animals. So the fighting is between the two groups. So one promoting the culture, and second. Okay, so the G7 Hiroshima Summit. Leaders of the seven of the world's most powerful democracy will gather this weekend for the Group of Seven Summit at Hiroshima in Japan, the location of the world's first atomic attack at the end of the World War II. Hiroshima, the choice of venue underscores a determination to put under disarmament and non-proliferation at the top of the agenda of this year's summit. A path to nuclear disarmament, fine, has appeared more difficult with Russia's recent nuclear weapon threat to Ukraine, as well as a nuclear missile developed by China and North Korea. Japan, which is protected by the US nuclear umbrella, has also faced criticism that its nuclear disarmament pledge is an empty promise. The Kishinda is trying to forge a realistic roadmap between the current harsh reality and the ideal of a world without nuclear weapons. Because so Japan has only seen the horrible danger or impact of the nuclear weapon, because it is only in the place where nuclear weapon was used by the global community, by USA during the Second World War, and its harm was clearly visible in the country. Okay, so the invitation to leaders outside the G7 are meant to extend. Okay, this year the leaders of Australia, Brazil, Comoro, Cook Islands, India, Indonesia, South Korea, and Vietnam are invited. As Japan Prime Minister Fumiko Kishida stressed the importance of reaching out to developing countries in the so-called global South and South US allies and partners. The host country had the right to invite some other countries to the summit, although who are the non-members of the group. So, as the chairman or the president of the organizing committee, the Japanese Prime Minister invited the leaders from Australia, Brazil, Comoros, Cook Islands, India, Indonesia, South Korea, and Vietnam to the summit. The invitation to leaders outside the G7 are meant to extend cooperation to a broader range of countries. G7 countries' share of global economic activity has shrunk to about 30% from the roughly 50% 4 decades ago. That means, so when it was created, its contribution to global GDP was around 50%, but over the time, it has reduced to around 30%. Okay, and some countries are emerging and contributing more to the GDP of the world. That is why, so the host country is trying to invite some of these countries to attend the G7 summit that will be held or hosted by Japan this time. Okay, so G7 countries share the global economic activity has shrunk about 30% from roughly 50%. Developed economies such as China, India, Brazil have made huge gains, raising questions about the G7 relevance and its role in leading a world economy that is increasingly reliant on food. କହିଦଉନାହାନ୍ତି ସେଠି ମୁଁ କ୍ଲାସ୍ରେ ଅଛି ନା କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ନିଜେ ପ୍ରପର୍ଲି ଯାଇକି ସେଠି ସାର୍ ଚୁପିନା ଯିବି ପାଖରେ ସାର୍ ଟିକେ ସ୍ପିଡ୍ କରନ୍ତୁ ବହୁତ ପିଲା ବସିଗଲେଣି କହିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ ଓକେ so developing countries such as China, India, Brazil have made up huge gains, raising questions about the G7 relevance and its role in leading a world economy that is increasingly reliant on growth in less wealthy nations. Leaders of the United Nations, the International Energy Agency, the International Monetary Fund, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the World Bank, and the World Health Organization, and the World Trade Organization are also invited to the summit. Fine. What are the top issues? Okay, so what is the top issue? G7 leaders are expected to strongly condemn Russia's war on Ukraine while pledging the continuing support for Ukraine. Ukrainian President Zelensky will join the session via the video conferencing. There will also be a focus on Beijing's escalating threat against Taiwan and the self-governing democratic island Beijing claims as its own, and a way to reduce Western democracy, economic and supply chain dependency on China. To address the rise of global South nations, including many former colonial Western powers with varied view on ties to Russia and China, this G7 will also offer these countries more support in health, food security, and infrastructure to develop closer ties. Okay, focus of G7 for this year. What else is happening? In a closely watched event on the sideline of the summit, Kishinda, the Prime Minister, meet together with President Joe Biden and South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol to discuss the close security cooperation, possibly including stronger nuclear deterrent to face the North Korea, an emerging threat for South Korea. Fine. Kishida and Yoon will pay their respect together at a Hiroshima memorial for Korean atomic bomb victims in a trust-building gestures. The two countries repair ties strained by disputes stemming from Japan's 1910-1945 colonial rule of the Korean Peninsula. Okay, so both will patch up the old issues, and it is an intergovernmental. So about G7, it is an intergovernmental organization of 7 countries that are the world's most industrialized and developed economy. Present members France, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, United States of America, Canada, and Japan. All the G7 countries and India are part of the G20. Fine. Origin, it traces its origin to an informal meeting of the finance ministers of France, West Germany, and US, Great Britain, and Japan in the wake of the 1973 oil crisis. Canada joined the group in 1976. European began attending the meetings from 1977. It was called G8 after the original 7 were joined by Russia in 1997, and it returned to being called G7 when Russia was expelled as a member in 2014. From 1997 till 2014, Russia was a member of G7, making it G8, following the latest annexation of the Crimea region of Ukraine. A principle, the group regards itself as a community of values with freedom and human rights, democracy and the rule of law, prosperity and sustainable development as its key principles. It prided itself as a group of nations that steadfastly promote liberal democracy and enjoy economic prosperity, which they seek to institutionalize through multilateral cooperation. It meet annually to discuss issue of common interest like international security, energy policy, and global economic governance. It does not have a formal constitution or a fixed headquarter, and the decisions taken by the leaders during annual summits are non-binding. response to, so as the 2022 G7 country make up 10% of the world's population and 31% of the global GDP and 21% of the world carbon dioxide emissions. In response to mounting concern over the money laundering, the Financial Action Task Force on money laundering was established by the G7 group in Paris in 1989. The G7 countries are important players in global trade. The US and Germany, in particular, are major export nations. Both sold goods worth well over $1 trillion abroad in 2021. So, major economy, major exporters. So, advanced countries, defense, strong in defense, strong in technology. Okay. Okay, so G7 countries are important players in global trade. US and Germany, in particular, are major export nations. Both sold goods worth well over $1 trillion abroad in 2021. Okay, then the next topic is the about the Sendai Framework. The India's National Disaster Management Authority (NDMA) and Japan International Cooperation Agency (JICA) organized a risk reduction hub event at the United Nations headquarters during the high-level meeting of the midterm review of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015-2030 to discuss the role of states for promoting investment in disaster risk reduction towards a resilient and sustainable future. About Sendai Framework for Disaster Reduction in 2015-30, it was adopted at the 3rd United Nations World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction held from March 14 to 18, 2015 in Sendai, that Miyagi, Japan. The present framework applies to the risk of small-scale and large-scale, frequent and infrequent, sudden and slow onset disasters caused by natural or man-made hazards, as well as related environmental, technological and biological hazards and risks. It aims to guide the multi-hazard management of disaster risk in development at all levels as well as within the across all sectors. It is a successor instrument to the HIGO framework for action 25 to 2015, building the resilience of nations and a community to disasters. Okay, so it was adopted at the third United Nations World Conference on Disaster Reduction held from March 14 to 18, 2015 at Sendai in Japan. The present framework applies to the risk of small scale and large scale, frequent and infrequent, sudden and slow onset disasters caused by natural man-made hazards. It also it aims to guide the multi-hazard management of disaster risk. Okay, in development and at all level as well as within and across all sectors. It is a successor instrument to the HIGO framework for action 2005 to 2015, building the resilience of nations and community to disaster. Then the next topic is the nutrient based subsidy scheme regarding fertilizer. Recently, the cabinet has approved the proposal for the Department of Fertilizer for revision on in nutrient based subsidy rate for various nutrient for Rabi season and Kharif season 2023. Nutrient based subsidy rate has been confirmed for various nutrients nitrogen, phosphorus and potash and sulfur for Rabi seasons 2023 and for Kharif season 2023 for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers. About nutrient based subsidy scheme, the subsidy on phosphorus and potash fertilizers is governed by the NBS scheme under the Department of Fertilizers since 2010. Subsidies fixed an inter-ministerial committee taking into account the benchmark international price of finished fertilizers as well as the raw materials, because these two fertilizers are not raw material not available in the country, so they are depend on imports. That is why so government is calculating on how to organize or manage the subsidy and control the deficit in this demand. The subsidy is given to registered to the NPK fertilizer manufacturers, importers which provide these fertilizers are subsidized rate to the farmers, because these two items are imported more than produced in our country. Okay, nitrogenous fertilizer is produced in bulk in our country, but in that also we depend upon import. It helps farmers in ensuring availability of essential nutrients at subsidized price. It rationalizes the subsidy on P and K fertilizers, ensuring effective and efficient utilization of the government resources. Then Operation Karuna, India has extended a hand of friendship to the people of Myanmar affected by cyclone Mokka. Indian Navy ship carrying relief materials reached Yangon under the Operation Karuna. Total 4 naval ships sent to Myanmar. The ships are carrying emergency food items, tents, essential medicines, water pump, portable generators, clothes, sanitary and hygienic items. India continued to be the first response in the Indian Ocean region to any disaster, and this Operation Karuna was launched to save the people or to provide relief to the people of Myanmar affected by the cyclone Mokka. Okay, the Kiru hydroelectric power point. The Central Bureau of Investigation recently searched 12 locations in Delhi and Rajasthan in connection with a case alleging corruption in the award of 2,200 crore civil work related to the Kiru hydroelectric power project. About the Kiru hydroelectric power project, it is being developed over the Chenab river and near the village of history class. History class लगे हुए होंगे सकता है ना हिस्ट्री क्लास का बड़ा निशान नाम दे सकता है So the Kiru hydroelectric power project, the Central Bureau of Investigation recently searched.
इंटरस्टेट रिलेशन करया पे गइले सेटा लॉक कर दे
कोटा गले
एटा करंट अफेयर्स क्लास बना
बोल
दे
ना
आज से
आज এটা বন্ধ
এটা जो এটা इंटर रिलेशन इंटरस्टेट
এটা বন্ধ আজ নেই বেরবে
टोटल 5 तक কিছু রাখো
না এই ভিডিও কিছু ক্লাস করতে okay. So it is being developed over the Chenab river near the village of Athanki and Kiru in Kiswar district of Jammu Kashmir. It is located between the Kirthai 2 hydroelectric project to its upstream and the Kawar hydroelectric project to its downstream. It is a 624 megawatt run of water project. The project is being developed by the Chenab Valley Power Project, a joint venture between National Hydroelectric Power Corporation, Jammu and Kashmir State Power Development Corporation, and Power Trading Corporation. Okay. Beneficiary states: Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, Union Territory of Chandigarh, and Delhi will be the beneficiary from this power plant. South Asia Gas Enterprise. South Asia Gas Enterprise, an international consortium of companies in deep water pipeline project, has sought the support of Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas and others to develop a undersea gas pipeline from Gulf to India. The proposed 2,000 kilometer long energy corridor connecting Middle East of India and the 5 billion project can lead to an annual saving of about 7,000 crore in comparison with similar quantity of liquefied natural gas import. The undersea transnational gas pipeline project, Middle East India deep water pipeline, was initially conceived between Iran and India, Porbandar, about a decade ago, but it is known as the Iran-India-Pakistan IPI gas pipeline, but has been stalled. Okay, about the SEJ, it is promoted by the New Delhi-based Siddomal Group, a joint venture with the UK-based deepwater technology company. SEJ is working with a global consortium of some of the most reputed companies in the field of deepwater pipeline to create a multi-billion-dollar energy corridor that can transport gas from the Middle East to India, bypassing the land route through Pakistan. In quest for India's energy security, South Asia Gas Enterprise Private Limited is undertaking a project, the pathwaking project, to build the deepest underwater transnational gas pipeline, also known as the Middle East to India deepwater pipeline. This will be a gas highway that will connect the gas-rich Gulf of Middle East region to India for the transportation of natural gas to secure India's energy needs. In addition, the SEJ also planned to supply natural gas to Oman, UAE on its pipeline route to India and seek to further build cooperative relation with the friendly Gulf and Middle East countries. Then the Kishtwar High Altitude National Park. In news, recently the research team of the Department of Wildlife Protection has confirmed the presence of snow leopards in Kishtwar's High Altitude National Park through camera trap photographs. About the Kishwater High Altitude National Park, it is located in the Kishwater district of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. There are class runs. Okay, so it was majorly found to protect the snow leopard that are now slowly vanishing from the nature. The area lies in the central crystalline belt of the Great Himalaya, and the track is situated on the high altitude, subalpine and alpine zone. The national park encompasses the catchment area of Kibar, Natha and the Khyber Nala, all of which drain southwest into Marwa River, locally called the Marvi Sudhir, which later joined the Chenab River. Okay. Flora, it has a variety of temperature conifer forest. This includes fir, Himalayan A, Deodar, blue pine, and Kali and the spruce. In the alpine region of the park, extensive alpine scrub and meadows are present. Fauna, the park is renowned snow leopard region. Besides, it provides a habitat for the brown deer, Himalayan musk deer, the hangul, ibex, wild boar, Indian buntjac, Shero, Capricornis, Himalayan duck, Bahal, etc. Okay, rich region and more famous for the snow leopard. Okay, coming to the question, explaining the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity through light on the benefit and potential challenges of India from joining the IPEF grouping. The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity is a modern regional arrangement to build cooperation and economic integration in the Indo-Pacific. The IPEF consists of 14 participating member states representing around 40% of the world GDP and 20% of the global goods and service trade. It seeks to strengthen economic partnership among participants countries with the objective of enhancing resilience, sustainability, inclusiveness, economic growth, fairness and competitiveness in the region. The IPEF has identified four broad pillars on which it intends to foster cooperation and build synergy with member countries. Their fair trade in the field of trade and member country will build high standard, inclusive, free and fair trade commitment and develop creative approach in trade and technology policy to promote sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Okay, supply chain resilience. The nation have resolved to make supply chain more resilient and integrated with measures to mitigate the impact of disruption and crisis by improving transparency, security and sustainability. Clean energy and decarbonization. The member will accelerate the development of clean energy technology and build resilience to climate impact. The nations are looking at technology sharing and ways for easy access to finance for meeting the goal outlined in the Paris Agreement. Tax and anti-corruption. The IPEF member country intend to promote competition by enforcing robust tax, anti-money laundering and anti-bribery regime to curb tax evasion and corruption in the Indo-Pacific. Significance of the IPEF for India. Strategic partnership with the USA. For India, the US-led Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity is of strategic importance. India has described the grouping as a born from a collective desire to make the Indo-Pacific an engine of global economic growth, calling for common and creative solution to tackle economic challenges in the region. Supply chain resilience. Building resilient supply chain is one of the motive of this IPEF. India can consider members as alternative source for its raw material requirements. Malaysia could increase the supply of semiconductor chip, whereas Australia can be a source of minerals for the Indian industry. Countering China. China is not a member of this IPEF. This gives the grouping a distinct geopolitical stand and it can be used by India and other members to counter the challenges posed by the assertive China. Economic engagement in the region. IPEF will enhance India's economic engagement in the region, which has dented after India's withdrawal from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. The IPEF will also control the damage caused by the RCEP withdrawal as well as IPEF members except the US and India are member of the RCEP. Challenges posed by the IPEF for India. Driven by the US interest, the IPEF is primarily a US based initiative and hence mainly driven by its interest, almost US interest. E-commerce and digital trade are the most prominent. The US intend to pursue through its framework. Okay. Further, the regulatory framework pertaining to e-commerce is still evolving in India. Impact on the agriculture sector. The IPF can have deep implications for the agriculture sector in India in terms of genetically modified seeds and food and surrendering policy space for regulating big tech. India's concern with respect to the trade pillars. India's decided to adopt out of the trade pillars. IPF due to its concern regarding the possibility of binding conditionalities linking labor and environment to trade. More unilateral rather than consensus based. Early assessment by many experts show that the IPF would result in a complete stronghold over the economic system of the participating countries as a member, that to be complete advantage to the USA. Therefore, given the inherent challenges and opportunity attached to the grouping, the three T's, trust, transparency and timeline, are the very important for the success of this initiative. Trust and transparency will be built by its member and particularly USA, accommodate each other's interests. So this group will definitely bring a big change and counter China, because China being the most hegemonic country, every member of this group, they want to counter China and check the hegemony of China through their joint effort. if they are able to maintain their effort in a collective way, so they'll be able to develop themselves as well as, so will be a big counter to China in its hegemonic intention. Okay, so coming to the MCQs, recently new piece of flying gecko Mizoraminix was discovered in which part of India? It was located in the Mizoram. The central government recently introduced the minimum import price for apple in Jammu and Kashmir. Consider the following statement regarding minimum import price. It is a temporary measure to provide protection to domestic farmers from predatory pricing of imports. Import of the commodity is not allowed below this particular price. In this case, both are correct. So below 50 rupees, if the apple price is below 50 rupees, it cannot be imported to India as per the price this regulation. Now the following statement regarding the global report on internal replacement 2023. It is released by the Norwegian Refugee Council International Displacement Monitoring Center. That is correct. Okay. Then the number of internal displaced people around the world reach more than 71 million as per the reports. Both are correct. Then consider the following statement regarding the nutrient based subsidy scheme in fertilizer. The nutrient based subsidy scheme is being implemented by the Department of Fertilizer, Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizer. Under the scheme, fertilizer are provided at a subsidized rate based on the nutrient content, namely nitrogen, phosphorus and potash and sulfur. So here both 1, 2, 3 are correct. And this does not include urea based fertilizer or nitrogen fertilizer. It is also right, because nitrogen you produce a lot in your own country. So 1 and 2 are so 1 and 3, all 3 are correct. Operation Karuna is evacuation of Indian from Sudan, incorrect. Supply of relief material to cyclone hit Myanmar is the right answer, C. Then consider the following statement regarding South Asia Gas Enterprise. It is joint venture between India and New Delhi based Sidomal Group and UK based Deepwater Technology Company. SAGE is working with a global consortium of some of the most reputed companies in the field of deepwater pipelines to create a multi-billion-dollar energy corridor that can transport gas from the Middle East to India, right? SAGE also plan to supply natural gas to Oman, UAE on its pipeline route to India. So both all the 3 are correct. Okay. A tribal council's recent order not to issue a scheduled tribe certificate to any Khasi person who adopts the surname of her or his father has triggered a war of words. Consider the following statement regarding this. They are from the largest community in the state of Meghalaya. So that is right. Okay. So they are divided into several clans and following a matrilineal society, means motherhood society. The traditional Khasi male dress in jompong or jongi sleeveless coat without collar, fastened by those in front. In the Khasi society, it is only the youngest daughter or the Kadu who is eligible to inherit the ancestral property. All the 4 are correct. That Kiswar High Altitude National Park, it is located in Jammu Kashmir. D the right option. So famous for the okay. Then the recently Army Pope elected next Secretary General of the International Organization for the Migration. Okay. So consider the following statement with reference to International Organization for Migration. It is dedicated to promote human and orderly migration of the benefit of all. It has a permanent observer status in the United Nations General Assembly. India is not a member of International Organization for Migration. Okay, here 1 and 2 are correct, 3 is incorrect. Okay, so a breach of privilege notice against Rajya Sabha member are recently referred to the Committee of Privilege for investigation by the Rajya Sabha chairman. Consider the following statement. Consider 22 members in Lok Sabha and 15 members in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, that is not correct. Okay, in the Rajya Sabha, the deputy chairperson heads the Committee on Privilege. That is also right. So here your daily discussion is over. So keep on watching regularly to update yourself on the developments, and that will help you in your preparation for the examination. Thank you.